Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pikria Asanishvili. I'm from Tbilisi State University, Associate Professor of International Relations, and I would love to talk about security and foreign policy of Georgia in our days. And first of all, I want to make some kind of introduction about brief history of Georgia, and after that talk security and foreign policy priorities of this country after dissolution of the USSR. I will start from a brief introduction of the history. Georgia is located in South Caucasus region, and from the west it has border with Black Sea, to the south Turkish Republic, to the north Russian Federation, to the east Armenia and Azerbaijan. Historically, Georgia had a very important geographical location. It was regarded that this country connected Asia and Europe with one another. It also participated in ancient connecting road, which was called Silk Road, and that's why Georgia always had important influence on that time geopolitics. It was the shortest way to get from Europe to Asia and vice versa, and that's why Georgia historically had a tightest relationship with European countries, with Asian countries, Middle Eastern countries, etc. But Georgia itself identified itself as a part of Christian nation and Christian civilization because Georgia was adopted into Christianity in the early 4th century, and after that Georgia became some kind of very faithful towards this region, and most of all to national identity and religious identity in Georgia were interconnected with one another. To be Georgian meant to be Christian at the same time. Situation tremendously changed in the 15th century when Byzantine Empire fell down and Ottoman Empire took place in that region. Our major connection with the West civilization by Black Sea was cut down because Ottoman Empire took control over the Black Sea, and from the 15th century it is regarded that Georgia became some kind of Middle Eastern country purely because it was connected now with the Middle East mostly rather than Europe. And our travel to Europe from Black Sea was a little bit limited, but taking into account that Georgian people always respected the religion and they were always fighting not only for their independence historically, but their religious identity, so that's why they always keep Christianity as a symbol of Europe, as a symbol of Western culture, etc., etc. And that's why in 19th century, when Russian Empire appeared in the region, and it was Orthodox Christian empire. That's why majority of Georgian authorities and noble families regarded Russia as a savior of Georgia from Muslim aggression, from Islamization, and that's why Georgia first time started to implement such kind of politics, which got closer Georgia to Russian Empire. But in the beginning of 18th century, Russian Empire absolutely dismissed Georgian sovereignty. Georgian monarch, Bagrationi monarchies were replaced from the power, and Georgia was totally incorporated in Russian Empire. And after 1991, Georgia was part of Russia during Russian Empire as a colony of Russian Empire, and during the Soviet period as a part of Soviet Union. Georgian Socialist Republic appeared by that period of time. So that's why after 1991, when Georgia totally got its independence, and international society also recognized Georgia as independent entity, in foreign policy priorities still arose question what kind of politics Georgia should implement and what is the major interest of Georgia as independent states. And in that case, historical memory really played a crucial role in modern Georgia. Nowadays, still Christian religion and Christian culture became the most important one to create Georgian false priorities. And it was regarded that Georgia's interests mostly connected with the West rather than to the Middle Eastern countries, and that's why from that time in Georgian false priorities, so-called pro-European foreign politics became the most important one. And that's why from 1991, all Georgian presidents, Eduard Shevardnadze, later Mikhail Saakashvili, always promoted so-called pro-European and pro-Western foreign policy in Georgia. They always supported Georgia's integration into EU and into North Atlantic Treaty organizations, and they mentioned that connection with Europe was very important for Georgian national interests. This discourse was mostly increased from 2008 after Russian-Georgian bomb. It was openly recognized by Georgian society and politicians that Russia was a direct threat of Georgian national interests, and that's why Georgia did not have any choice but to distance himself from Russian influence and get membership into European institutions, into North Atlantic institutions as well. So from that time, Georgia's aspiration towards the West even increased. In nowadays, Georgia is the only one country in South Caucasus region which constitution declares the fact that Georgia should continue its aspiration in North Atlantic Treaty Organization and Europe. So according to Georgian constitution in nowadays, which was implemented in 2019, still pro-European aspiration of Georgia is a major aim of Georgia's foreign policy priorities, and it is regarded that any political elite should decrease interests of Georgia's aspiration towards NATO is regarded as illegal, because in Georgian constitution it is written that our future is in Europe, and every political leader and every political party and Georgian political institutions should implement such kind of politics which supports Georgia's membership in Europe and get closer Georgia to European institutions. Of course, European vector of Georgia is not a matter only of Georgia's will, but a lot depends on regional powers as well, because Georgia, as I mentioned, historically borders such an influential countries as are Iran, Turkey, and Russian Federation. Of course, not only Georgia decides its foreign policy priority, but also regional players have also a huge influence on Georgian political decisions and security policy as well. And what is the most important thing is that nowadays Georgia has a very good relationship with all powerful regional players except Russian Federation, and it is regarded that Russia influenced tremendously Georgia's geopolitics nowadays, not only in case of foreign policy priorities. Russia does not accept Georgia's aspiration towards EU and North Atlantic Treaty Organization, but also Russia is afraid that Georgia's membership in any Western institution is a direct threat of Russian Federation. They always underline the fact that if Georgia gets membership in NATO or in European institution, it means that Georgian borders will be very close to NATO and EU, and it's not acceptable for Russian Federation. So that's why we finally face some kind of huge impact and involvement of Russian Federation over foreign politics of Georgia in nowadays. Russia always tries to change Georgia's foreign policy priorities towards north, or if it does not work, to implement idea of Georgia's neutral status in international system. Pro-Russian political parties or pro-Russian mass media always underlines the fact that pro-European aspiration of Georgia is a threat of Georgia's national security. Georgia should balance between West and the Russian Federation, and neutrality is the most important idea for Georgian political development. So we have to say no to Russia, and we have to say no to European institutions as well. And neutrality is the only issue which it helps Georgia to survive in current very complicated political situation. So that's why in nowadays we are struggling about pro-European aspiration of Georgia. Generally, it is always regarded that aspiration of Georgia is a threat of security and stability of Georgia itself, because Russia dislikes such kind of aspiration of Georgia towards the West. Also, there is a huge antipathy towards the Russian Federation, and majority of Georgian people does not want to be associated with Russia. So that's why there's some kind of neutral solution to make Georgia neutral state and declare neutrality as our foreign policy priority. So I will conclude that in nowadays foreign policy of Georgia is a little bit complicated. It's not as stable as it was before. Because before 2022, everything was clear. Georgia strictly made some attempt to be integrated in Euro-Atlantic organizations, but in nowadays situation, after Russian-Ukrainian war, it changed in a little bit direction of uncertainty, because some political party still demands to continue traditional pro-European and pro-Western political orientation of Georgia towards the West, but currently voice of so-called neutral status demanders also very vital. And now we have some kind of clash between foreign policy ideas to keep pro-Western orientation or go to the path of neutrality and declare Georgia as a neutral state who does not want to be associated with any regional or trans-regional countries and blocs and cooperation. I will stop here. Thank you very much for your attention and wish you a very pleasant day. Thank you.